Well, hello and welcome to our fourth video in the Transformation Decoded series. Now, you may be wondering, why are we all here looking partially naked or fully naked? This time, today, we are celebrating birthdays. We're celebrating decade changes. We're celebrating the maturing and aging of women in society. And so we thought, what better way to do it than to be here in our birthday suits and welcome you to watch it doing the same thing. So I'm Jackie Elmer, one of the founders of Transformation Decoded. I'm 57 years old and proud of it, and am looking forward to sharing some information with you about decades, changes, aging, the process, maturing and growing wiser. So we are celebrating Lee's birthday, and she's about to make a big decade change. So Lee, let's start with you. Introduce yourself.
Hello, I am Lee Woodward, and I turn 50 years old tomorrow.
That's exciting. Congratulations. And Isabel?
I am Isabel, and I am 65 and a half years young.
Woo, we love it. Fabulous. So Lee, talk to us a little bit about what this transition feels like for you. It's a big one. So just share with us what you're thinking, feeling.
Yeah, well, and obviously this year with COVID-19, it's a little bit different. So I had some plans for a fun birthday bash to ring in, 5-0. But obviously that's changed. It'll be a small, intimate party with my kids and my husband, and we'll have a great time regardless. And it's kind of funny that you say that because I don't really struggle with the birthdays years. I had one major breakdown, believe it or not, in my lifetime on birthdays, and it was when I turned 25. It totally freaked me out. And in my head, what I realized I was that at 5, you round up. So all of a sudden, I was closer to 30 than I was to 20. And it was like adulthood set in for me. So 25, which no one understood, but I had this really like, oh my gosh, this is it. I'm not like a college kid anymore. I'm like, this is the real deal. I'm into adulthood. And so ever since that kind of freak out birthday, I just kind of cruise. So this one's fun because it gets, you get to hype it up a little bit. But for me, it's just another great opportunity to say, let's make it the best year yet. That's just kind of how I approach my birthday. Let's make it the best year yet.
I love it. It's just a number anyway. And it's kind of funny. I love that you talk about that at 25 because my daughter's turning 25 on the 10th of May. And forever, she would always double it and say, I'm halfway to whatever. So when she was 16, it was like, I'm halfway to 32 or whatever. And she just said this year, just on Monday, she said, I think this is going to be the last year I do that because hitting 25 and saying I'm halfway to 50, now I don't like the way that sounds. So it's just kind of interesting. Isabel, what about you? Talk to us about your decade changes.
I have never been the right age for the stage of life that I was in. I mean, was very obvious to me early in my life, where I was already doing things that much older people were expected to do. But because I started as a young mom and a young career person and a young business person, I was doing things before I could legally vote, drink, or drive that adults were doing. So I've kind of had a flip version. I sort of inverted my feeling about numbers and milestones. But I do remember feeling some sadness, I think some melancholy at 40. Uh, Maybe that was because I was in a relationship transformation at the time. And also it was the beginning of then what I found out was perimenopause. But each birthday is a wonderful opportunity to party.
I love that. That's a great
I love that.
perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've always been the same way too. I know when I was 29, I had just had my first child. And so when my 30th birthday came along, I was in the throes of that and didn't even think about it. I've never let the date, the number shock me. Now my brother, who's 2 years older, has agonized over every birthday he's ever had. It's so funny. And I always laugh and say, well,
Interesting.
what's the alternative, right?
Yeah.
It's crazy. But I will say my 50s, on my 50th birthday, it was kind of different. my husband was gone. I was all alone that day. And it was kind of funny for whatever reason. I didn't talk to anybody. Everything was through text message. And I remember just kind of feeling like, wow, is this it? Like I'm no big hurrah, no whatever. And the other thing that was interesting about it is it made me very aware of the limitation or the expiration date or however much time I had left. So instead of thinking always, oh, I'll do that next time I visit there, or I'm going to, do that then or whatever. It made me start really being aware of wherever I am, be there fully, get done what you want to get done, especially with regard to travel, because I may not pass this way again with certain destinations and that type thing. So it made me very, very aware and conscious of that. And it really brought in the value of quality versus quantity in every way, shape, or form. I really started putting a lot more emphasis on quality relationships, just all of that type thing. And so that's really been the only real shift for me with any of the decades or any of the birthdays. I'm like you, it's like another reason to party. Let's have a good time.
Yeah. It's funny. The one thing approaching 50 that I've heard drives me crazy. I'm just going to vent a little bit. It's the 50s, the new 30.
Ugh.
And I just think, and it's because of women like Jennifer Lopez, beautiful. So these women that are turning 50, Jennifer Aniston, all beautiful women. But why can't they just be 50? Why is it the new 30? Why is it always kind of um and I think especially for me, the one thing that I've enjoyed with age is, and I've always been fairly irreverent, but every year it's like, yeah, I give a little bit less what anyone else kind of thinks about stuff. So, and so it's kind of this, don't ask me to go back. Like I'm right where I want to be. And so I've been, and of course, turning 50, I just would hear that message and I'm like, what is that about? What is it that because women are comfortable in their skin outside of how physically attractive, they're comfortable in their skin and they're really owning it that they can't, it means they have to be younger than they are. So to me, that was one thing that stuck out in the last year that would ping up my interest and go, what is that about?
Well, it's true because, and it kind of leads me to a next talking point, and that is women in society and women in society in terms of aging. And I don't hear people say that about men.
Mm.
I mean, when I don't even know that we celebrate men's birthday. I'm talking like celebrities, well-known influencers, whatever you want to call them, people who we're aware of in the media. So you brought up good points, Jennifer Aniston, Jennifer Lopez. I mean, as it goes on, we're constantly reminded of the age of women and, oh, doesn't she look great? And she still rocks a bikini and that type thing. Do you know how old any of the male celebrities are? I mean, really, like, do you constantly see that? Or,
Yeah,
oh, look at him
right.
with his shirt off on the beach or whatever. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Thoughts around that? Anybody?
Well, I think it's interesting that the three of us are comfortable enough in our own skin to be on a video podcast uh, doing that.
That's
So,
right.
okay. Um, yeah, the reaction I have also, Lee, around 50 is the new 30 and 40 is the new 60 and whatever. I couldn't figure that out. I just, how do you relate in terms of that? But not too long ago, I had a conversation with another one of our badass colleagues from the book that we all collaborated in, and Clarice Ringwald,
Yeah.
who is another decade yet for us in our tribe, and saying, well, it's difficult for us to put sort of language around the age we feel because we don't have role models to refer to from our past.
Mhm.
Because our mothers at 50 seem so old to us. And now it's a question of, well, wow, I'm way younger than well, unfortunately, my mother died before my age, but to be able to relate to a family female member and say, oh yeah, I resemble her at this chronological age. It's different now because we have better skincare and quality and diets and lifestyles in general.
Yeah.
So that brings me back to something I think we also talked about in the book about, like what's your best before date, and how we've moved the needle on that so very much.
It's true. I remember telling my mom years ago that I wouldn't consider her old till she turned 50. That was when I was very young, obviously. And then it became a joke. And as I got closer, of course, none of my family has ever let me forget that. It's like, oh, I can't even believe I said that. And now I'm 7 years past that. So it's interesting.
Yeah, well, I mean, and I think that age, my daughter, who's going to be 21 this summer, I mean, she's gets, because in her mind, 50s always sounded old, but she sees me and the things that we do and the fun and this and that. And she's like, so she's like, I always thought that was old, but I'm not sure now, And so I think we get those ideas of old and age. And I have to say, I'm guilty of it too. When you mentioned, you know, kind of the before date, expiration date, I know I will find myself saying, wow, she looks really great for this age. And it's like, wait, why? I should just stop it. Wow, she looks great.
Yeah.
Like that's it. So I have to that's my work on for this year. So
Hey,
Good point.
I'll help you with that.
Yeah, all of us, language is powerful. It definitely is. And
Yeah.
I think we can think something in our mind and have beliefs and thoughts around all of that. And then it is amazing how much we can play into that as well and catch ourselves and realize, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I'm doing the exact same thing. So yeah, good stuff. Well, let's talk then a little bit about encores and transformations as we move through this aging process. Because I know so many of us, and especially as women, do go through this. And not every woman certainly experiences this, but we move through our younger ages, through school, into careers, into motherhood very often. I know I recently became a grandmother, and Lee, I know you're headed that way too. Isabel, you already are. And so I think we go through different phases that affect us maybe a little differently, becoming empty nesters and reaching that point where we look around and say, okay, what next? Like I'm no longer satisfied. I'm no longer fulfilled with what I've been doing. And now I have this opportunity. I know for me, even hitting 50, which was about the same time that my daughter, roughly the same time, was headed off to college. And I remember thinking, I have another baby yet to birth. I have something else within me. And I knew that was going to be a business or a venture. I wasn't going to have another kid for sure. So, what are your thoughts around that? Lee, we'll start with you.
yeah, it's interesting because I was just listening to Isabel recommended to me Untamed by Glennon Doyle, which amazing book, and I'm actually listening to it. And as you were saying that, Jackie, she made this point of saying that, especially for women, we tend to either we're the wife, we're the mother, we're a professional, we're all these different things, and that when those things go away, who's left? When our identity is can so often actually be tied to something that's not what we control. And that made me really, it was really powerful to hear that and to listen to that and think, I think as I've gotten older, I learned some of that on my own about it's been easier for me to identify me and know who I am. And I think that's been a more and more of a desire for me. Definitely on this path of going, it's all about figuring out who I am and how I want to show up every day, and less about, and I'm a mom. I love being a mom. I love doing all those things. I love being a professional. But at the end of the day, all that stuff can change. And I think when I went through my divorce, that really ripped my world apart. And I had all these, just like I had anchored so much of my identity and things that when it went away, it was like, whoa, who am I? Who am I now? Right. And so I think that's come with age, that desire to find me and know me.
I love that. It's so important. And it's true. I think it's a question that we subconsciously ask ourselves all the way through. Whether it's launching our career, who am I? Like, where is this taking me? What do I want? Am I fulfilled? Am I enjoying this? Becoming a mom, I know the same thing. I know that there were times when I looked around and thought, is this it? like, really? I was a stay-home mom, and then I started my own business, but still was home. But I always laugh and say I wasn't a great tiddlywinks mom. I didn't, sitting on the floor and doing some of that stuff was not fulfilling for me. Certainly I loved being a mom. It wasn't that part of it, but it was just feeling like there was more for me, that I had brains and I had talent and I had ambition and I had things beyond that. And I think sometimes we have a tendency, well, I know this, it's like, are you going to be a stay-home mom? Or are you going to be a working mom? And often we don't support each other the way that would be the most fulfilling for all of us, to support whatever decision and be that community that helps uplift whatever the woman and the family and the group is, decided to do for that. But I think that's a process that we go through, and then we can reach that point of empty nest or whatever, where we've lost all of ourselves, all of us, I guess, ourself, trying to figure out who is that now. So interesting. Isabel?
Yeah. Well, I was thinking what we're doing now, and the three of us in our mastermind do this a great deal, and it's transforming the stereotypes that we hold in ourselves for how things should be. And it's really an interesting evolutionary process to go, well, that being a mom doesn't mean there's only one model for that. Or being a grandmother doesn't mean there's only a model for that, which is, circa 1945. Or being a business person doesn't preclude you from also being a mom and a grandmother and a community person of service. So I just love the fact that we're opening it up to say, yeah, let's turn this all on its head and look at it from what is right and fresh today and what feels good. Because I know that we've all done the duties that we're supposed to and fulfilled our multiple roles in our lifetime, but there does come a point when that inner voice is saying, it isn't all that I am, as you mentioned, Jackie.
Yeah, I think I just read something for Earth Day about Jane Goodall's work, and she's 80 something, maybe 80 something, and
Yeah.
she's still out there doing her thing, man. And I was like, wow. I mean, just going out and bushwhacking, right? I mean, a lot at any age, it's demanding physically, but I think,
Yeah.
what we can do in our time. I mean, Jackie, you or Isabel, I think it was you mentioning earlier, so different, our health standards, our longevity, the medicine we have access to stay healthy, and those types of things that
Right.
we get to, as we're in it, we're having to think, well, wait, how long am I going to be this really active, physically able person that can go out and, study the gorillas? Well, somebody's doing it into her 80s. So,
Absolutely.
Right.
It's like the horizon keeps moving back.
Yeah.
Right.
yeah,
And how exciting. It's not that we're chasing it, it's that we are keeping up and actually we're pushing it.
yeah,
I think women like
I
us
like
are
that.
pushing it.
I like that.
Hey. This is the best social distancing birthday shoot party I've ever been at. Now, notwithstanding that it is the first one it's definitely the best one. Do we get
Absolutely.
cake and champagne later?
Cake and
I'll send you
champagne.
pictures. Yes.
Please do, for sure.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right. Well, any final thoughts? Isabel, we'll start with you, and then Lee will let you wrap it up since you're the birthday girl.
I am so honored to be part of this triad and hopefully causing some other women who are listening to go, yeah, maybe that doesn't work anymore. And to open it up to be at whatever age they are, the very best self that they can be in that moment. And, like F the best buy date that society put on us. And now it's up to us to choose.
I love it. My final thoughts, and then, like I say, I will turn it over to you, Lee, to close up. Yeah, we are about transformation. We're about supporting you and all of us in all of our journeys to constantly be in transformation and moving forward. And I think, the biggest thing is look at your age, look at yourself in the mirror, acknowledge both, acknowledge and accept
Yes.
the number that's associated with you, but don't let it define you unless it defines you in the most positive way possible. It doesn't limit you in any way, for what you should be doing or what you can't do or any of that. You get to define you. Stay healthy, work to really maintain that, because as we were sharing, and you ladies mentioned, there's so many we have access to so many better things so that we can stay those that at that peak performance level and feel good and look good and perform at that high level and go on to accomplish great things, because the world is waiting to see your next encore, your transformation, and we're cheering you along in it.
Yeah.
That's great. I think for my kind of passing words, I've thought a lot about. First of all, I'm so comfortable sitting here, you know, naked, basically in my birthday suit, and that has been a real transformation for me. And I think one of the things that comes with aging naturally is how we physically look changes. And I certainly use my serums. I want to look as good as I can, or whatever that means. But there's nothing that is as beautiful as being able just to be comfortable in our skin. And I say, are they wrinkles or smile lines? I don't. I've laughed, I've cried. A lot of stuff went into etching these lines, and I wouldn't change any of it. So I think as for women, our bodies change, our physical being changes, and being able to embrace that and love it, I just think is a beautiful thing. So I wish that everybody, regardless of the birthday you're celebrating, that you are able to become comfortable in the skin you're in. So
I love it.
that's
And that's
from
one of my
me.
taglines, love the skin you're in. So
Yeah,
ladies know.
absolutely.
All right. Well, if you have any questions or comments, leave them below. We'd love to get those answered. We'd love to hear about your transformation. We'd love to celebrate whatever decade, whatever year you are honoring. And we will be back with our next episode, where I believe Isabel is going to be interviewing me on my chapter in our fabulous book, her book, Who Am I Now? And we'll be talking about comparanoia, imposter syndrome, and some of those things that can trip us up. All right. Happy birthday, Lee.
Thank you.
Happy birthday, girl.
Thank
Yay.
you. And everyone stay safe.
Yeah.